So there is the need for regulation. Then standards, the standards of the work that you do, your engineering standards must be conformed to. You don't just do things on your own. Then returns, earning from property investment, and then incomes, job security, and etc. I will end on the next slide, and the rest of it all will be shared later. The next slide on this. After all this, the classes of membership that one can become within the institution is as follows. Membership of the institution shall consist of the following classes of engineering practitioners. A, that is professional engineering class. That is I, professional engineer. You can be called a professional engineer. You can be called professional engineering technologist. You can be called engineering technician. You can be called engineering craftsman. And then B, non-professional engineering classes are honorary fellows. Sometimes we honor people who are into the practice, but don't have certificates and all that, but they are performing. Somebody like Apostle Kojesafo can be given an honorary fellow. Then we have students membership. If you're a student member, you are not supposed to practice unless you complete your education and you enroll into the practicing system before. Then we also have companies, firms, and memberships. And then we have educational institution membership. Then we have temporary membership in all the classes as above. Thank you very much for this short presentation.
Thank you so much, Engineer, for your presentation. I'll now call on the second presenter, Engineer Wanda. Am I right? Yes, to give his presentation.
Thank you very much, Doc. Fellow future engineers. Yes, because I can see electrical engineers here. I can see municipal engineers, works and housing engineers, and all that. So, thank you for giving me this opportunity to deliver on this short topic. As Engineer Kello, Prof. Humphrey, right, said, Humphrey happens to be one of the chief engineers working with engineering council subcommittees. In fact, I got to know him when the two of us were being inducted into engineering fraternity at the engineering council. So you people are very lucky to have such personalities here. So, like I said, we have two engineering bodies working under the council. Just like medical practice, before you become a doctor, after schooling, you need to be licensed, right? You need to be licensed before you practice. So when you finish your education as electrical students, as building construction students, civil engineer, mechanical engineer, what have you, you need to be given license to practice. You can have the book knowledge to practice, but then when you are practicing and there is a problem, you will be held responsible. And in Ghana, the law says you can only be registered when you join any of the two engineering bodies, Institution of Engineering and Technology or Ghana Institution of Engineering. There are routes to get to practice engineering. We have cost engineering, we have building construction engineering, we have civil engineering, we have mechanical engineering, we have automobile engineering, we have a lot more. When you come to IET, you see a lot of engineers there. Now, I understand I have few minutes to deliver my lecture, but so I wouldn't waste much time. Let me go there straight. Right, as you rightly said, I am Engineer Davawanda, Chairman of the Civil Construction Building Division of IET. We have electrical division, we have auto mechanic and all that. But building and civil construction division of IET, I am the chair. At the same time, because I'm practicing as an engineer, I am the head of West for Denchambua district. Have you heard of Denchambua before? Okay. Yes. When you talk about Denchambua, you are talking about Akwetia, Diamond district. I am the head of West over there. And when you said you are head of West, it means that we have several engineers working under you. We have quantity surveying division, what we call cost engineer. We have mechanical engineer, we have architects, we have draftsmen, we have a whole lot. Before we have the head managing them. Of course, before you head them, you must also be an engineer. So I am practicing as engineer at Akwetia, Denchambua district. So we go to the next slide. Go to the next slide. Today, I'm coming to talk about the fact that when you are given opportunity to put up your building, you need to look at certain parameters before start. I believe all of us, when we finish, we want to have a place to put up our head. So I want to put up my building. What are the things that I would need to put up this building without a problem? Whether you want to put up the building for residential purposes, or you want to put up the building for commercial purposes, or you want to put up the building for industrial purposes. What do I have to do? And the question is, do I need the development authorities? Do I need them? We have several of the development authorities in Ghana. We have Savannah Development Authority, we have Northern Belt Development Authority, we have Middle Belt Development Authority, we have Coastal Development Authority, we have a whole lot. But the one that I'm coming to talk about is municipal, metropolitan, and districts assemblies. And for that matter, MMDAs. The development authorities of each district of Ghana. That's what I'm coming to talk about. By the end of this lecture, we should know the need to put up your building, the legal requirements, the merits, and the merits. The merits. Yes, the merits and the merits of involving the development authorities. Compensations and collaterals and when you engage the development authorities, what are the advantages and disadvantages involved? Under the advantages, we have compensations, we have collateral, we have avoid demolition, we have to ensure buildings properly sited, we have to avoid untimely collapse, a whole lot more. Enforcement action by development authorities and necessary litigation. And then we conclude. Very short, but it will be interactive. Right, so let's go to the next slide, which is about the need to put up your own building. So every professional, as I said earlier, you need to put up a building. And so as a professional, we can put up residential building, we can put up commercial building, we can put up industrial building. Who is development authority? Who are the development authorities? I talked about that already. And so the one that I'm talking about is MMDA. Now, the development authority that I'm talking about, which is the MMDA, they are given powers to plan the districts. When I talk about the districts, I'm talking about metropolitan, municipal, and district assembly. So they are given powers to plan the district. For instance, when I have a piece of land and I want to put up a building, first of all, I'll ask myself whether that building is residential building or it is commercial building. The development authorities, as you can see from the right part of the slide, they have demarcated every piece of land into commercial, residential, and industrial purpose. And we call it zones. So if I want to put up my building and the building is for stores, I want to sell items in it, it is classified as commercial. So if the place is not zoned for that, if the area is solely for industrial and you send it to the development authority, they will not approve of it. And so, in order that when you put up the building, it will be seen to be sited within the zone that it is planned for, it is always advisable to see the development authorities. The next slide. The legal requirements or the legal environment. I think Engineer Kello talked about the legal environment governing IET, Institution of Engineering and all that. Here, to put up your building, there are laws governing that. One of them is called Local Governance Act 2016 at 936. And it says, let me quote, a person shall obtain a building permit from a district planning authority before undertaking the construction of a building or other structure or undertake any other work on your piece of land. So therefore, if you don't see a development authority or if any development authority, if one of these development authorities does not give you permit to put up a building, it is null and void. And then when you come to another law, we call it LI 1630, which is National Building Regulation. In this country, everything that you want to put up, whether you want to put up a telephone mast, whether you want to put up, or whether you want to construct a road, whether you want to put up a building for yourself to put up your head, whether you want to put up a commercial, a kiosk. The National Building Regulation, it's regulated it, how to go about it. If you do it contrary to the dictates of the National Building Regulation, somebody can come and demolish it for you. We'll go to that end. But you see, recently, there is another law in Parliament. Some of us are privileged to be part of this select committee in Parliament to review the National Building Regulation, which is going to be called Ghana Building Regulation. It is going to supersede this. Because this one was enacted in 1996. This one, 1996. But the one we are coming to have now will be current. You agree with me that those days, when you want to walk through your corridor, all right, you can make it 3 feet, about 1 meter, and you don't have a problem. But now, the type of structures we have now, if you want to construct a corridor, you have a corridor in your building and you want to make it 3 feet or 1 meter, It will be too small. In order that when you want to have a comfortable place to walk through and bypass each other freely, we are talking about 4 feet this time. So it will mean that when that law is approved and you bring a development plan for me to approve for you to construct your building, I will have to ensure that the 4 feet is allowed inside. If you make it 3 feet, I'll reject it as a district engineer. For that matter, I'm talking about municipal engineer, metro engineer. And so that is being reviewed. Let's go to the next slide. Now we are now going to look at the merits in involving authorities. I think I even talked so much about that. Why do we involve the development authorities? Why do I involve them? Or why do I have to see them before I put up my building? So, disadvantages. The fact is that there are disadvantages in seeing them, and there are advantages in seeing them as well. The demerits or the disadvantages in seeing them, one of them is the fact that you have to pay. Yes. Well, yes, you say why? The law says that the assemblies are permitted to charge for developmental purposes. That is what they also use to develop the districts. So, yes. The how much, you know, I wish this presentation can take about two hours. When every assembly has the right to determine how much to charge, but the law says we have local governments that regulate the performance of the assemblies. For me, in my district, what I do is that we have something called fee fixing resolution. The assemblies set up specific amounts to charge for everything. When you go to the market, you see that we have some tickets that they give to market women. Yes. Those things are fixed. This year, the tickets we are going to give to people in the market should be 10 cedis. That is what is going to be applicable. When you say development permit in the district the next year, it is going to be 0.8% of the development. That is what you are going to use for the year. So, for instance, in my district, when you come with your building plan, the architectural drawing, I will now design what we call guesstimation. Do you know what is called guesstimation? Let me see my hands. Okay. Yes, I can see someone here. Guess estimate. Basically, is to this building, for instance, within 10 minutes or 10 seconds, within 10 seconds, I should be able to know how much this building should cost. Yes, it is so simple. That is what we use to determine how much an applicant will pay for building permits. For instance, if I put up a building, can you go to second slide? Let me see. Go down again. Leave it. Have you seen this building? Yes. Assuming this building is costing me 200,000. Okay. To build this building, this type of building on my plot of land is 200,000. What I'll do is that after getting to know the cost of this building, I'll measure the total area the building is costing, the length times breadth. Assuming the length is 6 meters, the breadth is also 10 meters. The area the building is covering is what? 60 meters. 60 meters square. Okay? Now, if this building is costing 200,000 and it is covering an area of 60 meters square, then what is the cost of 1 meter square of this building? Divided by that. It is so simple. You divide the amount by the area. Okay? When you divide 200,000 by 60, how much is it? Can somebody do that? 200,000 by 60 square meters is what? 3,333. Is that it? Yeah. It means that this building, 1 square meter is costing 3,333. So if somebody wants to put up 2 of these buildings, I will only multiply the area, the total area that the second building is going to cost by 3,333. And I'll get the cost of the building. All right. That is what we call what? Is what? Is what? Good, you are engineers. So, okay, let's go back. So the law says that you pick the cost of the building and strike percentage. In my district, we use 0.8%, 0.8%. So when I get the cost of the building, I will now strike 0.8%, and that is what the applicant is supposed to pay as the permit fee. Of course, depending on circumstances, they can still reduce it for you. So one of the problems we have having link up with authorities is delay in executing projects. Before the law says that before you start your project, you must what? Obtain permits. Now, when you submit your application to the district assembly, they will now say, okay, we have to come to the site and look at it. Or we have to have a committee to look at it. You have to pay such amount before we issue. All these processes will delay. And so one of the reasons why when you get in touch with authorities before you put out your building, it's delay in executing the projects. Lots of documents. For instance, I am working in the Chambord district currently as engineer there. Assuming I'm transferred to KMA as metro engineer, and I do not properly hand over to whoever is coming to succeed me, sometimes the documents at my custody may get lost. So when you apply for permits, or you want authorities to have a documentation about the building you want to put up, and I'm not able to give you the permits before leaving, and at the same time, I'm not able to hand over properly, sometimes you come and see the new officer. The new officer will tell you that, well, I don't have any documents from you. So the loss of documentation is also one of the reasons why people avoid going to district assemblies for permits or to have their consent in putting up building. Sometimes when you design your projects, there are several things. I know there are engineers here. You have beams running along a project, for instance. The beam will have its purpose. They are supposed to transmit load safely to the substructure through the foundation, right? Now, assuming you bring your building, and I realize that the load acting on the beam will not be sustained by the foundation or the level at which the foundation is. The subsoil is rather stronger than where you place it. So we are not going to have self-bearing capacity of the subsoil to transmit the load. I will tell you that, my friend, go and redesign your project before I approve it. Because if I do that, when you put up your building, in no time your building will collapse. It's just like a doctor giving you wrong prescription. He's killing you, but you don't know. So I'll tell you that, my friend, go and do this, go and change this, and then I'll give you. So some of these can also cause delay, and also will deter the applicants to come to the municipal or district assembly. The last one, which is restricted to standards. I think this one, I even talk about it. For instance, the road or the walkway, lobby, sometimes in the old regulation, national building regulation, in fact, it is still in force, it is here. The national building regulation requires that every living room or every space that is supposed to be occupied must have a minimum of 20% opening. So this room, if I measure the total area, the total floor area, And then I compare it to the doors and the windows. And I realized that the windows and the door openings are less than 20% of the floor area. I'll reject it. That is what the law says. So in this case, it is restricted to standard. The standard must be complied with. Otherwise, if it is yourself, you can just go and put up your building. And then you stay in it. Nobody will care. But you see, sometimes, I think the framers of the law, they have scientific knowledge about some of these things somehow. The fact is that when you sleep in a room in the night, for instance, you breathe in oxygen and you breathe out carbon dioxide. It is expected that the carbon dioxide will be carried out by the wind outside for it to be converted by the trees and all that. But when you sleep in a room where there is no opening anywhere, you breathe in the oxygen, change it into carbon dioxide, and you begin to breathe the same carbon dioxide inside. What happens? So you can imagine, so the architects, the designers, who have the roof designed in such a way that there is continual flow of air from this direction to the other opposite direction, from the window to the opposite window, so that when you breathe out, that air will be taken away and then fresh oxygen will come for you to breathe in. These are standards. And so if you don't follow the standards, the building will not be approved. And these are the disadvantages going to the authorities. Now let's look at the advantages. The next slide. You are going to the merits. Yes, so when you go to the authorities, we have something we call compensation. Do you understand what is compensation? Yes. There is a law. I don't think I quoted it here. We call it Land Use and Special Planning Act. Land Use and Special Planning Act, Act 925, 2016, right? 2016. It provides that when you put up a building, and then the building is actually approved by the development authority, and there is a problem, the development authority should compensate you. Yes. So let's look at the situation this way. The development authorities, the assemblies, they are powered by the same law to review the scheme. Like I said earlier, we have a whole vast land that is planned into zones. This place should be residential, this place should be commercial, this place should be industrial. Now, it's assuming about 4 years' time, we realize that vehicles don't ply here. And this area, people are interested in putting up residential building rather than industrial building. Maybe we decided to make a Sapreku factory here, but at the end of it, we are not making so much from it. So, and people are interested, let me put up a storage building for my family here. The assemblies are given powers to revise the scheme every 4 years. Now, assuming that we are giving permission to be at where you are giving permission to put up that building. And that the revision has been made in such a way that your building will be collapsed, or there's going to be a road passing through your building. The assembly should properly compensate you. But then, if you don't have permits or you don't have approval from the development authority, it means that you are supposed to demolish the building yourself. But assuming you are not able to demolish the building yourself, and the assembly has gone for a bulldozer, right? Is that not how we call it? Yeah. To demolish it for you. The law says you should pay the assembly the cost of the bulldozer he used to demolish it for you. Yes. And then the law also says that apart from paying the bulldozer for demolition for you, you are supposed to pay the operator the fuel he used. And again, the assembly should take it to court to obtain costs from you. So to avoid all of these, the only way to go about it, the simplest way, is to have permits. Once you have permits, the assembly is obliged to properly compensate you. I think I quoted the law somewhere. Yeah, the loose power regulation, the land use and special planning regulation, section 39 talked about that. It is clear. So once your building has been approved, it means that the government has accepted that you should be there perpetually. Even if president decides that I want my building to be there or I want the road to be there, you are supposed to be properly compensated based on this section of the law. One of the reasons why you need to see the assembly or the development authority is to avoid unnecessary demolition. We'll go there. We'll go there. We'll see it in the pictorial form. The next one is to enable permits issued by development authorities to be used as collateral. When you have permits or when the development authorities give you permission to put up your building, there is something they give you in the form of a document called permits, building permits. This document, when given you, you can use it to obtain loan from bank. Yes. You can use it as collateral to obtain loan. It means that that building belongs to you. If there is a name written on this document, a property of Engineer Davowanda, and I decided to go to bank to obtain loan in the name of Davowanda, it means that I have such a building here. So I can use it as collateral. Sometimes when you go to court, when you are in an unfortunate situation and you need to be bailed, you need something, a document that can be used to bail you, even with the police. They would like to see, you can have your building there. If you don't have that document, it means it could happen that it's not for you. So they will not accept it. But when you have that document, it means that that building belongs to you. The next slide. Yes, so with a road, every plot of land, it's along a road or a lane or whatever you call it. You are not supposed to build directly at the edge of your plot, for that matter, at the boundary between your plot and the road. As you can see over there, that building is sited a little bit beyond that dotted line. The dotted line, when you measure from each road, sometimes they live, depending on the scheme of the area, they live about 10 feet, sometimes 20 feet, sometimes 15 feet. That area is supposed to be left so that when you step from the road, you can walk a little bit before you get to your building. When you build directly along the road, it could happen that somebody wants to give way to a vehicle to come and pass by, and you'll be knocked out because your building is blocking the person. So when you send it to the assembly will ensure that that building line is left there. Of course, that plot of land is for you, but then you don't build on it. You can use it for any other thing. So when you send to the assembly, they will ensure that that is conformed. Then we also talk about height conformity. Sometimes when you go to airport residential area, no airport residential area, I mean airport itself, you are not supposed to put up a very, very high rise building beyond certain level. The reason being that when the airplanes, are coming to land, they are supposed to come to certain level. When the building is too high, it can obstruct them. So everything that you are supposed to do, every building must be restricted to the height. Section 10 of the National Building Regulation requires that every stage of your building must be certified. When you finish with excavation, we are supposed to ensure that, yes, the excavation is correct. and it is in conformity with the law. When you want to pour the concrete, we'll test it and see whether the mixture is correct. Whether when you put 1 part of cement, say 2 parts of sand, or 3 parts or 4 parts of stones, that forms the concrete. So all these levels are supposed to be inspected and confirmed. So once that is done, it means that you have complied with Section 10 of the National Building Regulation. The next slide, please. Yes. I think this one, I even talked about it earlier, structural integrity of the building, where I talked about the fact that a beam must have specific strength to sustain the load, which will be safely transmitted to the subsoil. I happen to be in a committee. Can you see that? Is it beam or column? It's a column, right? That has been removed. This column, in fact, this particular picture was taken from Batabi Church Collapse building. Have you heard of that? Batabi Church Collapse, where about 20 people died. Yes. We took this picture over there. You can even Google it, Batabi Church Collapse report. The IET actually delegated some people to investigate the cause of the building, the collapse of the building. It was led by the then vice chair of IET, now the president of IET, Engineer Henry Boatin. I think you should be watching us from Zoom now. He was the leader of the team that investigated the collapse of that building. In fact, several things I will encourage all of you to go and read. When you read that report, you know why buildings keep collapsing in the country. And I can assure you, they will keep on collapsing. Yes, because I happen to be the secretary to that committee. And in fact, the sort of things we saw there, it will shock you. Yes, look, we have this picture. If you look at it carefully, you can see that down there are iron rods that are projecting from the protruding end. That iron rod, it was supposed to be curtailment of the iron rod that is projecting to the top. It doesn't have a mat. It doesn't have any mat. They just push it into the soil. And then they casted the concrete around it. And if you look at the concrete base, the base is like circular base sort of. And just after that, they have rectangular or square column. And then going a bit further, they change it to circular. And it's continued. Is it not interesting? So when we interviewed the people, the leaders of the church, in fact, when we observed this, we interviewed them, and they were of the view that, you see, the church doesn't have money, but we are just depending on the benevolence of the church members and then the skilled workers in the church to put out. So we obtained permits for a single-story shed. But when we started, there was an idea that why don't we make it a story building? So you can see clearly that they started with a single story with a mat for just a small pillar. Then when the idea came that let's make it a story building, they changed it to square pillar, but they didn't go back to the foundation and change it. Then at a point in time, they said, one of the guys said, okay, why don't we construct the office of the pastor at the top of the yeah, so they decided to change. Then they said, okay, that is it. Then let's make it a circular column. And that circular column should be made in such a way that it will sustain the building and again the pastor's residence. So all of this, it didn't occur to them to actually go to the foundation and fortify it to sustain that load. Seriously, when we got the geotech report, you realize that the good bearing capacity of the soil is actually located 1.5 meters. That is where it is. But they placed this one somewhere very shallow, just about 300 millimeters. leaving the good bearing capacity there. And this one was continued. And when it got to the limits, it just collapsed like that. 20 people died that day.
Oh, have mercy. 20.
Yes. So if a doctor prescribes wrong medication, sometimes only 1 or 2 people will die. But this one, if you allow certain principles to be, forfeited, manipulated, you are killing lots more people. The authorities are there to check some of these to ensure that the design you have, the foundation is strong enough and it will be placed at the right level. And for that matter, it will be able to sustain the load that is coming on it. The electrical design, they will ensure that the breakers and all that are provided to be able to, should there be any fault anywhere, it will not affect any gadget, but the fuses will be able to blow out to protect the items you have in the structure. And if you bring all this, the authorities check all this and they realize that, no, there is a problem here, they will draw your attention and that will be corrected. So that's one of the advantages seeing the authorities. Good. So we have to avoid enforcement. The assemblies are empowered. I remember one time I was in court and a client brought me to court that I came to demolish his building without informing him. Even if what they did was wrong, I should have informed him before demolishing it. Section 234 of Land Use and Spatial Planning provides that the assembly has the right, or the development authorities, they have rights to demolish your structure once it is located in public space. The public space are defined: road, lorry park, markets, all that. And subsection 2 provides that when we are coming to do the demolition, we should inform you. So so the judge, after listening to this, thrown the case away. In Ghana here, and in any other country, it is the law that governs us. Whatever you do, you are protected by the law. So the municipal assembly or the district assembly, metro, will come in this form. First time, you see some inscription on the wall, remove. When they say remove, it means that that place, there is no way they will allow you to put up a building. When they say produce permits, it means that there is possibility for you to be given permits to do it, but you need to produce it. If you don't have it, then you now demand that they provide a permit for you to put up the building. But if they do that, they give you some time limits on or before the date will come. If you're not able to produce that before that day, then you see this man. If you look at the back there, you see some policeman standing there with a weapon. You can see him. Yeah, some assemblies come with soldiers. And when they come, you have nothing to do than to watch them destroy your property and go free. To avoid this situation, the best way is to see them. You put up your building, you are protected forever. Let's go to the next slide. Yes, to avoid litigation, like I said, you go to court, the court will say this and that. Oh, come the next day. And for me, when I go to court, I drive my car, I use the assembly's fuel, so I don't suffer so much. But you, an individual. Yes. I think that is what you also be doing when you become engineers. Yes. So that is it. When to avoid all these, to avoid litigation, you need to actually go to the municipal assembly, the district assemblies, so they can quickly prevent all this. And one thing, let me tell you this. There is before you obtain permit, there are certain things that they look for. One of them is land ownership. Where you are coming to put up the building, whether that place belongs to you. If it belongs to the assembly, then the assembly must give you authorization to put up that container or that structure there. But if it belongs to you, then you must show evidence that, yes, this place, I bought it from Ochiamedes or Henedes. Then they can be given to you. But look, Section 47 of Land Act. We have Land Use and Special Planning Act, and then we have Lands Act. Lands Act, it's at 36, 1036. This act provides that if you are a man and you acquire a plot of land and you have a partner, automatically that plot of land belongs to your partner.
No.
Hello. Yes. From the year 2020, if you have a partner, I'm talking about a wife and a husband. If you have a plot of land, before you sell the land, your other partner must write that I have given permission. So, the last I think the same applies to the women. So if you are planning to acquire a piece of land and you are not yet married, then that is what you can do now. But once you marry, it means that you can only sell that land after your partner has given you permission in writing, not even verbally. Otherwise, let me tell you something. I was in court and a lawyer on this matter. A lawyer came, sometimes you do certain things, dispose of the land, and in the future, somebody from the other side will come and say, my mother did not agree before you sold the land. And for all you know, the mother might not be around. And the law says it must be done in written. Once you are not able to prove a document to show with a proof that my husband or my wife actually gave me consent before I sold this land, the law says it becomes null and void. Yes. So you have to pay the person back the money, and then the land comes back to you. You can search for it. You can Google it. Last Act, it is on the net. You search for the section 47. It is there. All right. All right. So let's go to the next slide. I think I'm wasting much time here. Enjoy. Oh, do we continue? So we are going to the end. The next slide. Let's go. As I said earlier, you are all engineers in the making. And you are already engineers once you come out. Once you register with a professional body and you are given license, you are automatically a professional engineer. And you practice as such. Now, the onus lies on you to give a professional advice. When you are given the permission to practice, you are supposed to convince your owner or your client that what I'm doing it professionally. You need to advise your clients professionally. And you can agree with me that from all that we have discussed, it will be prudent, actually, to involve the development authorities in putting up any project that you want to do on your structure I hope you agree with me. If you look at the merits and the demerits, I think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. Now let's go to the next one, which talks about engineer. We have, when you come out, based on your qualification, you'll be admitted into engineering body and be registered with the council, either as a professional engineer, professional engineering technologist, professional technician, or professional craftsman. Once you come out with your qualification and you are registered, it means that you are going to practice as a registered professional. To avoid exposing your client, okay, to unnecessary harm or unnecessary, demolition and risk, it will be advisable to advise your client that let's do the right thing. There was one time that I was doing this. I came to a site. In fact, a friend called me, happens to be a church member, that he is putting up a building. And then he was advised by the mason that in order that you can have a lot of space in the house, let us shift the building to the back. He is sharing the boundary with another gentleman who packed the blocks on his plot. Not knowing the blocks were not packed on the boundary, but on his plot. But because he took the advice of the mason, they shifted the building backwards. We have a lot of space in the front, but at the back, it's almost close to where the blocks are packed. When the other gentleman came, he realized that where the building is sited, it's actually close to the boundary, or even part of it is in his plot. So he told the man that, please demolish this structure, otherwise I'll demolish it myself. Fortunately for the first person, he is a church member. He knows me to be working with the assembly. So quickly he called me, Engineer Wanda, I have a problem with this is it, and I want to do this. I said, so you know, I am working with the assembly. If anything, you need to contact me. You've not contacted me, and you rather took advice of a mason who will not advise you well, and now you are supposed to demolish it. When I strike the line from one pole to the other, you can see that part of his building is in the person's property. Wrong. So in this circumstance, what can you do? Now, if you are professional, you are working as a professional mason, you are working as a professional surveyor, professional supervisor, engineer on site, and such a thing is done, will you not be blamed? Because you gave a wrong advice. Now, the regulations that are coming, the engineering regulation, if such situation happens, all the amount of money the client spends, you may have to pay it. So when you come out, it will always be prudent. You advise your client professionally. In fact, if you do that, your client will be extremely happy with you. Sometimes the masons and other people think that when they do that, the client will rather be happy with them and continue to deal with them. Oh, let us shift it here so that you can have much space. So, oh, yes, this mason is good. He's thinking about me. But at the end, you are rather costing him. So, thank you very much. And I would like to bring my presentation to an end. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Engineer Wanda, for the wonderful presentation. I think the engineer sitting in front of me will agree with me that there is difference between classroom work and being a professional. I've had many of you coming to me to ask me about your status. Some ask me whether upon completion, they can be regarded as engineers. I've had a number of times trying to explain to them, and some of them gave me instances where, according to them, some of our products at a point in time were classified as non-engineers, and for that matter, could not practice. I believe today the question has been answered, and I do not have to repeat myself. I believe today you've had the opportunity to meet one of the engineering institutions in Ghana, and they've taken you through how to become a professional engineer. But it's not just completing the program, the engineering course. It's not just after obtaining your electrical BSc or your mechanical BSc in auto or BSc in construction, that will automatically make you an engineer. The first presenter took you through the processes involved in becoming a member and the membership rules, the type of membership available. That was what Engineer Alexander Kelly took us through. In fact, he did not complete his presentation, but we have a copy of the presentation. That also includes the professional examination, how the results are released and other things. I just glanced through it. That was not presented. That will be shared with you so that you will know how to register. In fact, even the schedule for 2022 is in the presentation when I glanced through it. That was not presented. And also, we will make available the forms for the student membership. I believe strongly many of you will be interested in becoming student members of IET. And so the forms will be made available. What we'll be doing is that we will give them to your union leaders. Copies to your union leaders. So the electrical students can get it from the chairman of the Electrical Students Association, same with the mechanical and auto students, and then the construction students. You can get it from your union leaders.
And the wood students.
It is not what you want, please. It is what we want. You don't know them, though. You get to know them. We will also make soft copies available in your various platforms. So if you don't want to see the president, you can easily download it.
That's good.
And so when you fill it, and after looking through the presentation, you will get the forms and the process will begin from there. I am not giving the vote of thanks, but I think they have done well this afternoon. And we many of us, we've been schooled as to why we should obtain permit when we are building. This is one of the training that you will get when you become a professional engineer. Are there any questions? Do you need clarification? We'll give opportunity for some few questions. Yes, please.
My name is Monica. My question is, you mentioned oxygen breathing at night. That is in the room. We are taught in building science, we need for the students that our plants takes in oxygen in the daytime and breathes out carbon dioxide. So in the night, it takes in oxygen at night. They use carbon dioxide. Why daytime they take in carbon dioxide and oxygen. Now you also understand that there are some plants that takes in oxygen. Can you mention us what plants?
I don't know whether this was part of his presentation, but that is not completely correct. Maybe I can try to answer that. It's not completely correct. We have two processes. We have respiration and we have the process I'm talking about. All animals and plants take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. But in addition to that, plants manufacture their own food. And in that process, they use carbon dioxide and give out oxygen. And so in the daytime, the net gas that is produced is oxygen. They take in oxygen in their daytime, and they also take in carbon dioxide in the daytime. But the net gas that is produced is oxygen. But it's not like they take only oxygen in the daytime or whatever nighttime. There are two different processes. During respiration, all living things take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. I'm not sure that is what he presented here. Anyway, yes. I thought you would need clarification on membership and what they presented today, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I wanted to add to the membership issue. We have some of the forms here. What I would suggest that when we finish, the class rep should wait. We'll give each class rep copy. Then you make copies for your class members, those who would like to join. Then you complete. When you finish, we also put the soft copy, as Doc said. When you are done completing it, you bring it to your faculty, your department. Go to your department office. Yes. So class reps should collect all of them. Then you bring it to your department, the head of department. He will let us have it. Then we'll process it, and you have the outcome. We are much grateful. In fact, there are a lot of people online, and they are giving some comment, and we are very grateful. Those online, if you also want to ask questions, you show the raise hand, and we'll attend to you. Some are suggesting that we should do this every month, whatever. But we're going to plan at least every semester. We'll see if we can have one. You know, today we brought in the second speaker, spoke more on building permits. We'll bring in other dimensions, electrical wiring, mechanical, auto, and other things to balance it. Okay, Doc, thank you.
Right, so let's take some few questions, and please, very short. Yeah, let me give the gentleman here. His hand has been up for a long time. Please, let him keep quiet so that I will give you the chance. Please. Yes. Yes.
Now we are aware that without a permit, one is penalized in the future. Now, according to the zoning regulation, I thought it's corrected. I think regulation 8 or so. So if you submit the documents and maybe after 3 months, the authorities will not inform you whether you can proceed or not. You, as a client, you have the right to go on. Now, my question is, as a professional, what advice should you give to your client? Whether to go in for a document that will be as evidence to the effect that submitted your documents and we're not giving a credit,
okay,
so that you can proceed to the construction.
Okay, let me take another question. Very beautiful question. Yeah, let's give chance to a lady so that they will answer. You take it. Yes, go ahead, lady.
During the presentation, you made mention of construction, like places for construction, automotive, mechanical, but I didn't make mention of wood. I would like to find out, do students also have a place in there?
All right, thank you so much. So let's give it to a third person, and then they can answer the question. Yes. Yeah. There's cost involved. Okay, so let him take the 3 questions before we have another set of questions.
Thank you very much. Let me start. The cost, I think the sector president chairman will answer that. The wood technology, yes, there is. Like I said, we have divisions, and wood technology falls in one of the divisions. We have construction, civil, and building. Wood, what do you use wood for? We use it for construction, right? Yes, so you are within construction division of IET. So you have every right to apply and be admitted. Now, the one that talks about Regulation 8 of the National Building Regulation, LI 1630. Yes, it provides, now we are even revising it. I said earlier that we met in select committee in Parliament recently. We are trying to bring it up to Ghana Building Regulation. This time, as per Land Use and Spatial Planning Act, Act 925, it is reduced further to 1 month. Yes, you are right that when you apply for permits and the permit has not been given you, or the authorities fail to reply or communicate to you whether the permit has been accepted or not, after 3 months, you have every right to start the building. But there is one thing. When I was making the presentation, I talked about section 10 of the LI 1630. I think subsection 2 talked about something. With your permission, let me read so that, yes, you can actually understand what it means. The regulation 10 says that every state, you must invite the authority to certify. Subsection 2 of regulation 10 says that no construction work shall be covered until it has been inspected and approved by the Development Planning Authority. So what you do this at this point is that, fine, you have applied for permits. I wrote an article some time ago, I think it's on the net, you can search for it. When you apply for permits, you need to obtain receipts. When you have the receipt of submission, from that day, the 3 months start counting. Now, when you get to the 3rd month, and you are not able to receive information from the assembly as to whether it has been approved or not, follow regulation 10. Regulation 10 says that you notify the assembly when you are going to start your work. So what you do this time is to advise your clients that reference the receipts attached, which actually gives you the date you submitted the permit. It is 3rd month now, and therefore I've been authorized to start work. On 20th of this month, I am starting and therefore wish to notify you. When that is done, it means that you have fulfilled all the regulations concerning your development. Nobody can come and demolish your structure. If they do, you can take the person to court. I hope everything is clear.
Yes. In fact, these clauses are there for a purpose, to unnecessarily delay people's permit approval. But it doesn't mean that the building document you have submitted and your designs are correct. What about the 3 months expires and you start, and the following 2 weeks, the outcome comes, and they say that they raise technical issues with your drawings, and therefore it is recommended that you cannot go ahead? What will you do? So the thing is, if you submit and you are not getting, or you've not gotten the feedback, you should follow it up. It's very important, because there are processes. Committees will have to meet, and if they've not met, approval cannot be given. So that is the issue. So don't take it as a gloss decision. You can start, but midway somewhere, they can stop you because of error in design. And if you are following the same design, they can pull it down, because if they realize that the design you have and as you are using can cause some kind of collapse, you will not be allowed to continue. So the advice I will give to you is that when you submit your document, just make follow-up if you think it's delaying. These clauses are there to reduce unnecessary delays, but don't take it as an advantage. And it doesn't mean that when the time expires and you have not received feedback, you have approval. That is not approval. Thank you.
I wish this session could stay on for the next 5 hours, but unfortunately, we have another session for the postgraduate students, which will involve the same speakers in this same room. It will mean that we will need to close so that we can go, but I will still take some few questions. There can be interactive session even after this, and where you can still meet them to have the interaction. But we will need to close. Yes. Yes. So I want to.
Thank you. I think someone asked about the registration. The registration, student membership is free.
Thank you.
The only thing you pay for is 20 Ghana cedis for your ID card.
Okay.
The ID card. That is all that you pay for. So you fill the form, then you add 2 passport pictures on it. That is it. And then with graduate membership, that one you pay 500 Ghana cedis.
No problem.
For the exams and the interview.
No problem.
That is all.
right. So like I said, I'll just give room to 2-3 questions. So 3 hands up, and that's all. So first you. Yes, go ahead. Yes. Please, are there people online who want to ask questions? Yes. Yes.
How many times does one has
Okay, that will be answered. Yes. How many times? Yes. Online. Let up to this 3. Yes, quickly.
Can you make the person
Practice. Yes.
What's the function? What's the importance of the
Okay, so I will come. So, oh no, please. Yes.
Honorable member.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Honorable Abdurrashid Idrisu, concession level 200. Yes. With respect to the advantages of development regulations or authority, one of them is saying that it ensures right setback. Now, assuming I have plot number A and plot number B, and plot number A is closer to a road by the site plan. Now, it happens that plot number B, the owner have started developing it and is entering A, like you stated in your presentation. Now, I decided to bring a surveyor to look into the matter. Then the surveyor stated that he will sift during the developing of B. They failed to count 7 feet away from the pole. Now the resource person is saying we have to sift it to the roadside. In this case, is it approved? Then we also have communities that are not planned. So instances where I belong to such a community, how do I obtain a permit? Thank you very much.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Marcus Clement, the president of the electrical department. My question goes to the IET, the membership. From my department, it is known that for electricals, we stand out as monopoly. They said that before you practice, we have commission certification. So if I'm to belong to the IET, does it give me a strong hold over that? Or it means that I will have to obtain that permit before joining this one too?
Yes, the first part of your question is wrong to them. The IET, the engineer, is different from a certified wiring professional. That's a different thing altogether. The permission you're talking about is for just those who do installation for the Energy Commission. And that is different from, so that part of the question is not correct. I just want to correct it before I even give them to answer.
Please, I would like to ask what are things required in order to
student membership drive
building permit?
Without your student membership and you graduate, it is so easy for you to be accepted within the institution, in the sense that you will be taken through a lot of trainings and then workshops, which will equip you for you to be able to be enrolled into the graduate membership. So when you are a member as a student, automatically, it is so easy for you to be a full membership after graduation.
Let me add that the benefit of being a student member clearly is that you benefit from trainings. We have what we call professional continuous development or continuous professional development trainings. So members, you are also, as a member, you benefit from the various trainings that we line up. So we offer a lot of training. So as a student member, benefiting from these trainings. So before you even graduate, you will know the ins and outs of the engineering profession. So you come out already knowing all the issues as we are even discussing now. And that is the number one benefit. And again, we also run conferences and others. And because if you're a member, sometimes if those who are non-members are paying 500 to attend a conference, and being a student member, you'll be paying about 200, and you go and enjoy the same benefits. So these are some of the members, and you also have your membership. So even if you want to be engaged, be employed by anybody, any civil engineer, let me say engineering body or profession, and you go to probably an interview or compete with people, and you show that you're already a member, you'll be given advantage. Yes, because being a member means you are benefiting from a lot of training. So any employer would like to employ you because you may know some basic things that those who are non-members wouldn't know. So these are some of the advantages and others.
I'm on your issue. Energy Commission is different from IET. IET is allowing you to practice as an engineer in Ghana. And the Energy Commission is allowing you to be a wireman, or let me say an electrician. No, we have that word. We have that word. Previously, ECG used to give license to those professionals, the internal, which Energy Commission has taken over, and then the external, which is for the linesmen. But because of this defect and other, Energy Commission has taken over. So what you ask for is Energy Commission allowing you to certify you, and then you wire or be an electrician in Ghana.
Like I said, being a certified wiring professional does not make you an engineer. You can only become an engineer when you join one of the professional institutions like IET. That is it. So there's different. So you to practice and to learn how to wire houses, you need to go to the Energy Commission examination, which is completely different from this. This makes you a professional engineer. So take it, they're two different things. Right. So if there are people online who would like to know about it.
Yes, Honorable Abdul Rashid. Yes, thank you very much. I think that when you talk about putting up permit or maybe developing a land that has not been planned, when you apply for permits, there are two things we look for: whether the place is planned or the place is not planned. If it is planned, then it means that when you are going to put up the building, it's numbered. Number one, plot number one, number two, in sector this, in this scheme. But if it is not, maybe the place is now developing, or maybe it's a fresh area that you are going to put up a building. In that case, there is something that we call cadastral survey. Yes. They will pick the coordinates of the plot of land that you want to develop. When we were in primary school, we talk about geography, where we talk about longitude and latitude. Yes, the whole country or the whole earth is divided into portions. Those days, we were told that longitude 0 degrees passes through, yes, Tema, and it's 0 degrees where when you move away, the equator is what? Longitude 0 degrees, latitude and longitude. So when you go to your plot, there are instruments that will pick the points, the latitude that is passing there, the longitude that is passing there. The first one and the second one will tell you the location of point one. Then you move to the second one. And that is what you use to draw a plan that is called cadastral survey. When you bring that one to the authority, they will now know the location. As soon as you place it in the system, they will tell you that, yeah, your plot is here. And then permit will be given to you for you to put up that banner. So that at the time that they want to develop the place and prepare scheme on it, your place has been captured already. So they will plan it, factoring your development in it. But if it is not done, it could even happen that at the end of it, your building will be in a road. So that is how it is. And you also talk about the fact that somebody is putting up a building and the second person is in front. And the development authority is saying that he should shift towards the road. Please, the building line is an imaginary line that cannot be shifted. If you move into the building line, and for that matter, into the reservation, in the future, once the place is not revised or rezoned, somebody can wake up one day and build and demolish it. So I would advise that you always look at the people concerned and they'll give you the right advice. For me, I may come to you because you are honorable. I will look at you, advise you, and go. But my colleague who will come and succeed me will not have that patience. He will just bring the bulldozer, demolish it, and send you to court that you should pay him the cost of demolition. So that
okay, so thank you so much, our resource person. In fact, I would like I've realized that you've actually enjoyed this particular session, and you really wish we have more of them. So that is going to be the promise. We're going to be organizing these things from time to time, maybe 2 of them in a year, and that is going to be for the members, because here we've come to sensitize you to belong to the union. You cannot be getting this training if you are not a member of the institute. And so you will need to, if you want to enjoy and benefit from these trainings, and this is one of the trainings I would like to guess is for the construction and civil building engineers. In fact, so it means we have a number of subsections. The next time we could have some in mechanical and automobile, and then that of electricals and electronics. And so if you want to benefit from these CPD trainings, then definitely you need to pick the form and join as a student member, eventually paving the way for you to become a professional engineer upon completion. So no one is coming to my office again to ask me how you can become a professional engineer. This has been explained clearly. So we will expect the class prefects for the various classes to come to get copies of the forms. We will also make available soft copies in the platform so that you will copy. We will expect the class prefects to bring the field copies after some time. We'll give it a small period of time. Those who want to join should pick the forms or download the forms, register, and submit them through the class prefects to the HODs. And so mechanical should take to mechanical HOD, electricals, and construction. We will then forward the forms. And we have another session at 1 o'clock, so we cannot take any further questions. I will invite somebody to perhaps give the vote of thanks and the closing prayer.
Thank you for the opportunity. First of all, I would like to thank Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator of mankind and jinkind. Then I thank our able Dean of Faculty, Technical Education, members of the Diplomatic Corps, all protocol observed. We pray that inshallah, these sessions will continue so far as it is going to equip us with the competencies and the skills. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I will expect 9 people. 9 people, or maybe for each class, I forgot to. So we have woodwork classes, the construction classes, the auto, the mechanical, electrical. Class reps for level 100, 300 should come and get few copies that he can make photocopies. And the rest, this brings us to the end of your session. And thank you for coming.
I forgot to break one battery for my microphone. I want to conduct the interview. Not the mic camera, just the microphone, the small battery. Okay, you didn't come in.